Commanders HQ family, what's going on? Before we dive into today's big news, let me say this. Our Washington Commanders are a team that's not standing still. Every single week, this front office and coaching staff are looking for ways to improve, sharpen the roster, and give us fans something to believe in. That's the mentality. Constant improvement, constant fight to get better. And here at Commanders HQ, we're right there with them, breaking it all down for you. So before we jump into today's headline, do me a quick favor. Smash that like button so more Commanders fans can join our community, and of course, hit that subscribe button if you're new here. Now, let's get into it. The Washington Commanders made an under-the-radar but very interesting move this week. They signed veteran wide receiver Robbie to the practice squad. Now, if that name sounds familiar, it's because Chosen has been around this league for a while. He's had stints with the Jets, Panthers, Dolphins, and most recently with the San Francisco 49ers during preseason. At 32 years old, some might look at this as just another body, just a depth move. But let me tell you why this signing actually matters. First off, this isn't just any receiver. Robbie Chosen has proven production in this league. Back in 2020 with the Carolina Panthers, he put up over 1,000 receiving yards. That's no small feat. He said multiple seasons with at least 500 yards receiving, including a standout year with the Jets in 2017 when he hauled in nearly 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns. Now, he's not coming here to be WR1, let's make that clear, but he's a guy who knows how to run routes, stretch the field, and most importantly, he's been in NFL locker rooms. He understands the grind, and right now, that experience could be exactly what this Commanders wide receiver room needs. Let's talk about why Adam Peters pulled the trigger on this move. Injuries, plain and simple. Our star wideout Terry McLaurin is dealing with a quad injury. He missed the Week 4 matchup against Atlanta, and let's be real, when Terry isn't on the field, this offense just doesn't have the same spark. On top of that, Noah Brown has been dealing with a groin and knee issue. 2 of your top targets unavailable? That's a problem, especially for a rookie quarterback like Jaden Daniels who needs reliable options. So what do? You bring in a veteran, someone who can pick up the playbook quickly, someone who's been through different offensive systems, and someone who, if pressed into action, won't be overwhelmed by the moment. That's what Robbie Chosen provides. He's not the long-term answer, but he might be the right short-term answer. Let's zoom out for a second. We know Jaden Daniels didn't play in Week 4 against the Falcons, and Washington's offense felt it. The rhythm wasn't the same, the Commanders put up a fight, but losing your franchise QB and your top wideout in the same week, that's tough to overcome. That's why this signing is important. It's not just about Robbie Chosen, it's about stabilizing the offensive room, giving Daniels, when he returns, another veteran who can help him build trust and chemistry quickly. It's about making sure this team doesn't stumble too far early in the season. Because, let's face it, this season is about building momentum. The Commanders want to be playing meaningful football in December. They can't afford to dig themselves into a hole in September and October. Now, let's flip the script and talk about the other side of the ball. Defense. Head coach Dan Quinn had a very clear message this week. Communication needs to improve. And listen, that shouldn't surprise anybody. Quinn is a defensive-minded coach. He knows exactly what great defense looks like, and he knows communication is the lifeline of any successful unit. Here's what Quinn said, and I think it's really telling. Sometimes a speed motion happens. Being so careful that you're late on a communication, you're not quick on it to go. I really want our guys to trust their training, be loud, be confident. That's it right there. This defense has talent. Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne, Jamin Davis, Frankie Louvu, there's no shortage of playmakers. But if they aren't talking, if they aren't anticipating, then all that talent goes to waste. Quinn isn't asking them to be perfect. He's asking them to be loud, decisive, and trust each other. And what better test for this defense than Week 5 against the Los Angeles Chargers at SoFi Stadium? This is a team that loves to air it out. They're going to challenge Washington vertically, they're going to test the secondary, and they're going to force linebackers and safeties to communicate on every snap. If Washington's defense wants to prove it's legit, this is the game to do it. They can't afford busted coverages, they can't afford missed assignments. They've got to show that they've taken Quinn's message to heart. And here's the kicker. If they do that, if they communicate and play together, They've got a chance to come out of Los Angeles with a win and get back over 500 at 3-2. So here's where we stand, Commanders fans. Offensively, this team is trying to weather the storm of injuries. Signing Robbie isn't flashy, but it's smart. It's steady. It's the kind of move that can pay off down the stretch. Defensively, the challenge is communication. The pieces are there, but the execution needs to improve. The big picture? This season is still wide open. The Commanders are 2-2, and they've shown flashes of who they can be under Dan Quinn. But now comes the test of consistency. Can they string wins together? Can they fight through injuries? Can they trust their training and rise above mistakes? The Commanders head into Week 5 with a 2-2 record. Now, that's a record that can mean very different things depending on who you ask. For some, it's a sign of inconsistency. Big highs, frustrating lows. For others, it's the mark of a team still searching for its identity, but showing enough flashes to be dangerous. In Week 3, Washington looked sharp in a win over the Raiders. The defense swarmed, the offense controlled the game, and even without everything clicking, they looked like a team finding their groove. Then came Week 4 against the Falcons, and things got messy. Washington fell 34-27 in a game that many thought would be an easier matchup. Atlanta came in averaging just 14 points per game. 14! But against the Commanders, they dropped 34 and racked up 435 total yards. That's the kind of performance that raises alarms, especially when it comes from a team that had been struggling to move the ball. The biggest issue? Defense. And you know that's something head coach Dan Quinn takes personally. The secondary got caught off guard by explosive plays, the communication wasn't sharp, and the Falcons took advantage. When you give up big chunk plays, you put your offense in a position where they're constantly playing catch-up.
Still, it stings. The Commanders had an opportunity to go to 3-1 and put themselves firmly in the early playoff conversation. Instead, they walked away 2-2 with questions swirling. But here's the key takeaway. Nationally, people aren't writing this team off. In fact, respected NFL columnist Jeffrey Chahada recently looked at all of the 2-2 teams in the league and gave his verdict on where Washington stands. And guess what? He still sees the Commanders as legitimate contenders. Chahada's reasoning is simple. Washington is missing its most important pieces. And when they're back, this team looks very different. Daniels is expected to return this week against the Chargers. McLaurin could be back, Brown could be back. Suddenly, the passing game that felt limited against Atlanta becomes a lot more dynamic. Here's what Chahada said. The offense will look a lot better when Daniels is back from injury. The Commanders made the playoffs last year with a mediocre defense. They can do it again. That's an important reminder. This team doesn't need perfection on defense to make noise in the NFC. They just need competence, communication, and enough stops to let the offense do its job. And with Daniels leading that offense, everything changes. Let's talk about Jaden Daniels for a moment. This isn't just about talent. It's about the way he transforms the entire identity of this team. His ability to extend plays with his legs, throw accurately on the move, and push the ball downfield gives defenses headaches. Without him, Washington is forced into a more conservative game plan. With him, suddenly defenses have to account for every inch of the field. His chemistry with McLaurin, Deebo Samuel, and Luke McCaffrey is still growing, but we've already seen flashes of what it can be. When Daniels is under center, the Commanders' running game also opens up. Defenses can't just stack the box because they have to respect the threat of a deep ball or a quarterback scramble. That's why getting him back healthy isn't just good news, it's essential news. So where does this leave Washington in the bigger picture? The NFC is wide open, behind the top tier. You've got your powerhouses like San Francisco and Detroit, but once you move past them, there's a big cluster of teams fighting for playoff spots. The Commanders are right in that mix. At 2-2, they're not behind schedule. They're right in the pack. And here's the thing. Washington already proved last year that they can be a playoff team without elite defensive numbers. With a better quarterback situation and a deeper roster, this year's version has the tools not just to sneak in, but compete. But it comes down to consistency. Can this team take care of business against opponents they should beat? Can they limit those defensive breakdowns that turn winnable games into frustrating losses? If the answer is yes, then this is absolutely a playoff contender. The immediate test is Week 5 at SoFi Stadium against the Los Angeles Chargers. This game is huge for Washington. Not just because of the record, but because of the statement it can make. The Chargers love to throw the ball around. They'll test the Commanders' secondary early and often. That means communication on defense, the exact area Quinn has been harping on, has to improve. On offense, this could be Jaden Daniels' return game. If he's back, this is the perfect opportunity for Washington to show what the offense looks like at full strength. A road win in LA would quiet a lot of the noise and remind the league that this team is for real. So now I want to hear from you, Commanders HQ family. What do you think of the Robbie Chosen signing? Do you see him as just depth, or do you think he could surprise us and make an impact if given the chance? And on defense, do you agree with Dan Quinn that communication is the biggest problem right now? Or do you think the issues run deeper, like pass rush, tackling, or maybe even coverage in the secondary? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one of them, and your voice is what makes this community so special. And once again, if you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single update. We're building something special here, just like the Commanders are on the field. This is Commanders HQ, signing off. Let's keep the faith, let's keep pushing, and let's go get that win in Week 5.